Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Standard 81 podcast. My name is Sincere, and I am going to be your host for tonight for this particular discussion. I'm calling it Free Mind, but before we get into this, let's go ahead and take a quick 30-second break so that we can get our minds right, and I'll see you back here in a minute. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. And tonight is Free Mind Saturday. It was going to be called Free Mind Friday because I usually do the open discussion on Friday. But I wanted to get my mind right and really think about what I want to talk about, because usually open discussions are usually about a specific topic. But there's a lot of things I want to touch on tonight. So, without any further ado, let's get into this. I've already got two things set up here that I want to kind of touch on. And the first one is first dates. All right. Let's talk about first dates. All right. So, let's establish what a date is. All right. Because I love definitions. I love to look at definitions of words to see what the purpose of that word is and how it should be used in modern context. So I'm going to go to my handy dandy phone, go into the Webster's dictionary, and I'm going to look up the word date. All right. The word date means the time in which an event occurs, an appointment for a specific time to meet, a period which is belonging to something. Stop. So, how come it is in this day and age we have put so much emphasis on first dates or dates, period, and not enough emphasis on the relationship, the communication, and getting to know each other? I can tell you one reason. One reason is that for some odd reason, and this even biblically speaking, we seem to be more concerned about what it looks like to other people rather than the person that we're with. We are more concerned about the appearance of something. We are more concerned about how we are perceived than rather than what it is that we are doing. Meaning this, if I take a woman out on a coffee date, does this mean I don't have any money? No, it means that I set up a time and a place in which we are going to meet and engage with each other on a conversational level to see if we would like to proceed any further in getting to know one another. Here's my thought about this. Honestly, and I got this from Anton Daniels. Shout out to him, man. And shout out to Anton Daniels.com. Um, I don't think real dating, and I mean when I say dating, I'm talking about lavish dating, like Ruth Chris and all that good stuff, should start until after the marriage. Because that's the time you got to keep things fresh. That's the time you got to keep the flame alive. Because now you're connected with each other and you got to be with each other until you die. That's the vows you took, right? So what makes more sense, to impress up front or continue to impress after you got it? Now, does this mean you shouldn't put into any effort into the dating phase of it? No, but it does mean you should be less concerned about what you can do and more concerned about what you can maintain. Now, I'm going to say that one more time. You should be less concerned about what you can do and more concerned about what you maintain. Let me say it like this. If you take her to 5 dates to Ruth Chris or Texas de Brazil or one of these expensive steakhouse restaurants or these lavish dates where you're spending 100, 200, 300, 400, $500 on a date, you better be doggone sure you can keep up with that. Because I'm gonna tell you like this: she ain't gonna accept 2 for $20 once you get married. The place where you start needs to be the place you know you can consistently be at based upon your income, based upon what your lifestyle is like, and based upon what you're going to do on a day-to-day basis. This way, when that other stuff does come, the Ruth Chris, the Texas de Brazils, it is over and above what you are normally doing. Women don't compromise when it comes to lifestyle for the most part. It takes a very, 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 very special kind of woman to say she is going to downsize or downgrade lifestyle in order to be with somebody. Very few will do it. And for the guys that do have one, oh my God, please, my God, be thankful, take care of them, do all you can to make their life better because you ain't gonna find them. It's hard nowadays to find those type. But where you start needs to be where you can stay consistently. That shows two things, right? That shows that number one, you're a man of logic, you're a man of reason, you're a man with a plan. Because she ain't thinking about your budget. She ain't thinking about what you got to pay next week. She ain't thinking about the things you got to do throughout that month. All she's thinking about is the fact that you're inviting her out. She's going to have a conversation with you. She's going to have a good or a bad time, and she's going to determine whether or not she wants to see you again. And that's all that's on her mind. So if your first date is your most lavish date, you better be doggone sure your next date better be more impressive. I know you guys don't want to hear this, but it's truth. And we need to start focusing in on this because see, the problem is we are so concerned with materialistic things and all these preferences and stuff like that that we have gotten this whole thing confused. First dates are supposed to be simply a time and a place where we first meet up to have a conversation after we've engaged on the phone or engaged on the internet or whatever it is, where we can sit down one on one to see if we want to further this thing beyond those points. Does this mean you never do anything exciting during the course of a relationship? Should you actually enter a relationship? No, but at least enter an agreement where you guys are both participating in something before you start doing a bunch of lavish stuff. Even if you have the money, let me tell you something I've heard concerning money. And I've heard this several times. Rich people like to pretend that they are poor, while poor people like to pretend that they are rich. A rich woman will walk around with a grocery bag filled with $1,000, while a broke woman will walk with $1,000 bag with only $100 in it. That's crazy. You want to know how I know that's true? And I know I'm bunny trailing. You want to know how I know that's true? I'm gonna give you a true story. I was working at Best Buy as a sales for home theater, and this guy came in and he didn't look like much of nothing. He had on a pair of um, cargo shorts, uh, a light blue shirt, uh, um, a tan hat, and some flip flops. Kind of looked like a bum or a beach bum, right? And the people on the radios told us, watch him, keep an eye on him. We don't know what he's here for. Blah 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 blah. So I engaged with him and I treated him like a regular person. I'm like, hey, look, I just looked at it like I'm gonna sharpen my sales skills. I'm gonna show this man. I'm a demo with this guy and just do a best possible job as I can as a sales rep. And even if he doesn't buy anything, that sharpen my sales skills and my sales pitches. That's what I thought to myself. Now, little did I know that this man had all types of money. So I'm showing this guy all the extra expensive stuff. But in my mind, I'm just demoing all this expensive stuff and giving the ins and outs and the qualities of different things and telling him how this stuff can enhance his home and his entertainment value and all this good stuff and how it's future proof, all this good stuff. And after I'm done showing him all this, you know what he says to me? He says, let's go ahead and ring it all up. That was a great presentation. I'm going to get this for my second home. Now, me still not catching on to what he's saying. I'm like, okay, this guy is joshing with me, because he don't look like he got no money. I pitch him the Best Buy credit card, 24 months, no interest. You know what this guy proceeds to do? Laugh out loud. And then he says, nah, I got it. I ring up everything. And on the counter, I hear a thunk. Not a huge thunk, but a thunk. And for you that have heard that thunk, you already know what that is. That is an American Express black card. My first time genuinely seeing one. This is not something that you can simply slide through a machine. You have to get verification for it before any purchase can be purchased on it. And especially a purchase of that size, which I have to say was $75K. Because I pitched him the top end everything. Plus, he bought services and installs. And right then and there, after that particular transaction, and I got all the kudos for a big sale and all this good stuff happened for me. Right then and there, I said to myself, I will never again judge a book by its cover. Because the people that I often thought were going to buy the most were the cheapest. The people that came in with suits and looked the nicest and looked like they had money didn't buy much of anything. They would buy 24-inch TVs, 17s, be coming in there looking for bargains, trying to haggle me down on prices. And here this guy comes in. I learned an important lesson. Don't look like it doesn't matter what you look like. As long as you know you got it, you got it. So see, the first date shouldn't even be concerning to the person who's setting it up. Because if you know you got it, you got it. Your whole purpose in the first date, to bring it all back full circle, is to get to know the person, to see how compatible you are, to see if what you've been doing before you went on the first date translates to real life. Which brings me smoothly into preference and standards, preferences versus standards. Okay, so once again, let's look up these words because I'm a big advocate of words. So let's look up the word standards. All right, here we go. Let me put this up. You know what? I'm gonna have it scroll too. So boom, and I'm gonna show it. Okay. So the words standards means this. It means something established by an authority, a custom, or a consent or a model. Something set up and established to establish a rule of measurement, the quality or value of something. A system based on value or monetary gain. All right, those are standards. That's the words what the word standards mean. Preference. Let's look up that word. Okay, let's look up the word preference. And give me a second here. Sorry, y'all. It took a little time. Okay, so the word preference is a synonym. Yeah, is an adjusting word of the word prefer. So we're gonna go to the word preferred, which means like, best, or better, usually to be wanted or preferred. Let me say that definition again. To be liked, better, or best, to be wanted or preferred. The problem I see with this is we keep on getting confused. We keep on confusing standards with preferences. Your first date, you may want something lavish. You may want something exotic. You may want something expensive, but the preference should, that may be your preference, but the standard should be, let me find a place and a destination where I can get to know this person and find out whether or not I want to be with this person, whether or not I want to communicate with this person. Now, let me say this, for some people, the first date is their standard, right? Because honestly, what they're trying to show you the standard of living which they hope to live. They're trying to tell you the quality of living they want to live. And that's cool. And for those type of people, I suggest you wait and continue to wait until you find somebody that wants to give you that. But I'm going to tell you like this, that's going to be a long and tedious wait. Because I don't know nobody alive that's willing to go out on the limb on a first date. Taking it back to that. Standards should be a person's moral value. What principles do they stand by? What are the things that you see in them? What are the characters? What are the qualities that you are looking for? These should be the intangible things, not the monetary value of a person, because that can change. That can go up and down. One day a man could be making six figures. get fired or another pandemic can happen and everything could go into total chaos. Does that mean that his standards and values and everything that he is on the inside have changed? No, the situations and the circumstances have changed. Nothing about that man has changed. Nothing about that woman has changed. But so many times we confuse and mix our preferences in because we want something and we want it that bad that we begin to tell ourselves that these are our standards and we will not bend unless somebody meets those, which is absolutely ridiculous. Nobody is going to meet everybody's preferences, but somebody out there can meet your standards because you're always going to want more. You're always going to want something more than what you have. You're always going to want to do better. I don't know anybody alive unless they are just living on the street that don't want to do better than where they don't want to be better than where they are before. Now, some in this generation, in this brand new generation, are getting like that, but I can understand why. Without any real incentive to really push forward, what incentive is there? Which brings me to another point. What is the incentive? I'm gonna speak to the young boys and the men right now for this particular part. What is the incentive? Now, I hear people all the time telling men they need to become the best versions of themselves. They need to level up and they need to be and do this and do this. And that's what a man does. Cool. I get it. I understand 100%. My dad was in the military. He taught me the same stuff. But what is the incentive? What is the thing that we are pressing towards? Because at one point it was marriage, family, children. Now what is it? Because if a man gets all this money and he accumulates all this success, and we know that at the end of the day, we can't take all this with us, what are we doing it for? Who are we leaving it to? Get the insurance, get all this stuff, get all this stuff. Cool. That makes things substantially easier while you're alive. But who's the beneficiary? Who's the person that's going to get paid on your life insurance policy if you are not married, if you don't have children, if you are not in a relationship? Your parents, your siblings, your nephews and nieces, if you have them. The Bible says you should be leaving this for your children and your children's children. But people don't even want to have kids today. So what are we doing all this striving and pushing and motivating and all? What are we doing all this for? I keep on hearing a lot of people talk about generational wealth and what generation are we leaving it for? Who is the generation we are leaving it for? So once again, I'll ask you, what is the incentive? Ladies, what is the incentive for men to keep on pushing? What is the incentive for them to be better than they are before? Especially, especially when you give some of the best years you have and you give your body and your womb to men who are undeserving. Not much incentive there. The man you had before didn't earn that much. Your ex didn't do none of that. But you really gave. I get it. And let me say this. I get it. I understand. We learn, we grow, we evolve, we adapt. But let's have a little grace. Let's start thinking about ourselves in a different perspective. Let's start thinking about how good we can be for another person instead of how good can that person be for us. We sit here and say we want to build with people, we want to build a life, we want to build this. You can't build with somebody when the structure is already there. All you can do at that point is continue to put the pieces on around it. If the home is already built, the foundation is already laid, all you can do is put stuff around it and in it. You can't do any more than that. And that's not building. That's not building at all. That's just surrounding and putting stuff inside. I know this is harsh. I know. And I know what y'all gonna say. We hear people talking about this stuff all the time. But here's the fact of the matter. The situation is not getting any better. So until the situation begins to evolve, we need to have the conversation. And we need to have it about more than just what people are doing right and wrong. We need to have it about what are we going to do in the moment? What is the process that's going to make the conversation work? We can have a ton of conversations. What's the process? What's the action? What are we going to implement to make things work? To get to the next step. Because if we continue to walk in fear and selfishness and delusion, we ain't going to get nowhere. And we're going to continue to fall by the wayside and continue to fall off and then eventually fall off. And you know whose fault it's going to be? Nobody's but our own. Because we didn't take anything seriously. We just kept on having continual conversations about nothing. And now we're at a point where we're losing everything instead of focusing in on what we got and trying to make it better. There shouldn't be this much animosity among us. The process of dating and mating shouldn't be this confusing nor this hard. Let me bunny trail for a second. How come it is that in the times of slavery we were dating and mating at a high rate, but it seems like here in 2024 we can't seem to even pick somebody to be with long term? Now I'm talking specifically to blacks. You can't say that the men at that time were more economically stable. We were all slaves. We wasn't making that kind of money. A matter of fact, we didn't even look at the house slave with favorability because we thought he was in cahoots with the slave master. But yet we were dating. Yet we were marrying and having families by the millions. So much so that they tried to break the spirit of the black male in any way that they possibly could, and they were still reproducing. Let's take it back even a little further. Let's take it back to the biblical times, right? Now let's talk about some of the Jews, right? In the time of Moses, why did Pharaoh want to kill off all those boys, all those? Because the Jews at that time were marrying and having families, and he figured if he killed off all the men, there wouldn't be no more people to marry and have children. Which brings me back to the topic I was just talking. What is the incentive? What is the incentive for a man to step up and be a man if we just gonna be told that we're not good enough? We're gonna be told that we don't have enough. We're gonna be told that we ain't got there yet. Wait until you. I thought you were the helper. I thought you were the one that was supposed to come alongside us while we were doing the work to help us grow. This has been happening throughout centuries, and there's never been a time for us as a culture better than these times as far as monetary gains, but yet it seems to be the worst of times for the things we should have been holding dear. And that's crazy. You know who our God is? Money. You know what we worship? Material possessions and things of this world. We say we the most Christian people here in America, but our actions and the things that we talk about and the words that we say to one another ain't the least bit Christian. How we dress, the things that we listen to, they ain't the least bit Christian. But we'll proudly get up in churches and on stages and on stadium and proclaim that, even to my embarrassment, that Jesus is Lord. Thank God he's the first in my life, and without him nothing is possible. How can you even say that when everything in our lifestyle and everything in our life has been that which is against his standards, all due to, going back, our preferences, the things that we like better, the things that we want more. I know I'm talking to somebody. I know I'm talking to somebody. And I know you're probably saying, man, Sincere, you just racking on this. You just racking on you racking. But who you racking on? I'm racking on both of y'all. I'm racking on men and women. Because you got guys out there telling young men and young boys, oh, you need to pursue your purpose, and your purpose is to chase the bag and get the money up and become the best version of yourself. No, there isn't. It is not. I thought Martin Luther King said, a man is judged by his character. Character. What does money have to do with character? The only thing that money can show you about your character is the fact that you are disciplined. That's it. By the way you handle your money, it can show whether how disciplined you are and whether or not you're disciplined in that area. That's it. That's the only thing that money can show. And what does it mean to make yourself the best version of yourself when you don't even know what your purpose is? We keep on inventing purposes. We keep on saying careers and the pursuit of happiness. That's our ultimate purpose. And then we see people that get all these things and they're miserable. Absolutely miserable. Can that be our real purpose? And then we have the young ladies who are supposed to be our helpmates, our ribs, our better half, right? whatever the case may be, whatever you want to call them, telling us without that, we are nothing. That's crazy. We have allowed the world system to so influence our minds in the way that we think we didn't forgot about the very thing that got us here in the first place. We have let everything else filter into our mind that we forgot about the standards that we held ourselves to in the first place. So, what's the incentive? Let me ask you a question. If everything was to go topsy turvy right now, and the economy as we know it no longer existed in the way that we perceive it right now, where does that leave us? How does dating look? What does marriage look like then? Because before now, they knew what the idea was. They knew what the concept was. The provision and the protection was I provide them with the things that they need. The protection was I protect you with my life. We cover each other, we help each other during the rough seasons, and then when things are good, when there's something to celebrate, we all celebrate together. We've lost it. We have allowed this world to so infiltrate us and so pull us apart from the things that we have grown up with, the things that we inherently know, that we become a bunch of dummies. Sheep out here lost without any direction. But I'm here to tell you this, I'm not going to let y'all fall off the cliff. I'm not going to let y'all fall off the cliff. I don't care what it takes. As long as I'm living and as long as I'm breathing, I'm going to help y'all get there, man. Because the things that we treasure now and the things that we think are so great now, it's not going to help us in the long run. A car is a car. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care how much the value of it is. It's still just a thing on four wheels that gets us from point A to point B. A home is still just a home, whether it's an apartment or a house, whether it has one bedroom or five. It's still shelter. It's still a place to live. Food is just food, whether it's, well, let me preface that by saying this. Some food is not food, but you get what I'm saying. Food is food, whether it costs $30 or $300. It's still sustenance for our body. Our values, our faith, who we are inside are still supposed to be the same thing. The problem is we've convinced ourselves it's not. And we've allowed a system that has never worked for us to infiltrate our minds, our hearts, and our desires. And now we are more lost than we were ever in history. Is part of this their fault? Yes, it is. But a lot of it is ours for accepting that and continuing to run with it for these many years. But I will say this, some of us are waking up. Some of us are beginning to see that this is crazy. Some of us are beginning to focus in on something different. But I'm gonna tell you the real truth, and I'm gonna get up out of here. The real truth is this: without God, without Jesus, Without knowing the Lord and Savior for yourself, you are nothing. You will never find your purpose. You will never move forward like you thought. You will never, ever be 100% you until you find Him. And it's real easy. It's real easy. All you got to do is call out for Him. You know, in those times where you're outside or you're in your room or you're in your car and you feel alone and you start talking in your own mind, or you may talk to yourself and you thinking nobody's listening. I promise you He is. And He's waiting, and He's been waiting for you to turn to Him. He has been waiting for you to say something. But the problem is we tell Him everything and then we walk away. A conversation is not a one-way street, unlike these monologues I do. And I'm hoping later on in the future I can have discussions with more people. But until then, I will say this: He's waiting for each and every one of us. He wants to show us our purpose. He's given us gifts, talents, brain power, ability, and the capability to be able to do great and amazing things. But let's not confuse that with the fact that what we should be treasuring more than anything should be the character of a person and not what it is they have. And that's all I'm going to say. Guys, check out the Standard 81 podcast over there on TikTok. I got a lot of videos up there. Check out my Instagram at Sincere the Artist. And if you haven't done it already, hit that like, hit the share if you feel like this was powerful and you know somebody that needs to hear this. Subscribe. Please. I need to get this message out, and the more you subscribe, the more it helps me build this channel, and the more I can grow, the more I can have better conversations, and I can bring on more guests. I can get back to the one-on-ones and stuff like that. So yeah, subscribe, like, share, comment. And if you're watching this after it's gone live, type second watch in the comments for me and let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you guys on the next one. See you Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.